All right, that's a little better. Low tech in it today, don't have the energy to put the green screen up. But Game of Thrones Season 5, Episode 7, The Gift. Up front, right off the bat, it's better than the last episode. It's quite a bit better than the last episode. That doesn't necessarily make it a great episode. It still feels a little bit more wheel spinny than I think it should this far into the season. But stuff happens. Things that happened didn't tick me off. We're getting to that point in the season where I can't really talk plot at all because anything that I bring up is going to spoil stuff that happened earlier in the season. But what's going up at the wall is very much a natural progression of what's gone on up to that point. Samwell's gotten some good stuff, and he's really grown on me. He could have really felt burdensome and very tacked on and forced, sort of sidekick-ish. I really do like him at this point. Down in King's Landing, we get some more cool stuff with Olenna Tyrell. And also, it's worth pointing out, while I don't love all of the Sparrow plotline stuff that's going on, the High Sparrow himself, I like a lot. Jonathan Pryce gives a fantastic performance, and just how different this character is from pretty much anybody who's been in King's Landing up to this point. It makes his interactions with any character just that much more interesting because it's stuff we just haven't seen. He puts characters into situations and makes them deal with things that they're just not used to dealing with, and that's cool. That said, the overall sort of plot arc with the Sparrows and what's going on with them is exactly what I thought it was going to be. It's very predictable. Here's an interesting thing. I realized that at this point, I kind of like Tommen Lannister and also his sister who's over in Dorne, whose name I can't even remember, but I'm actually kind of liking those characters, which is surprising to me. I mean, Tommen made my worst characters list. I wouldn't put him on him there now. There's just something about the youthfulness, and I guess to a certain extent I could even say how naive they are, but there's just a sincerity and an unsulliedness to those characters. And given how tainted most of the characters in this world are, it's kind of nice. It's kind of refreshing. Winterfell, I'm feeling very mixed about. In terms of fallout of what happened at Winterfell, which was a lot of the stuff that I didn't care for in the last episode. If you watched my spoiler video dealing specifically with that event, I stand by all of that. It does seem like that it at least is impacting the story in a way that a similar event last season never really impacted things. So while I appreciate that, I still stand by everything I said in that video, and that what happened last episode was still unnecessary, at least in terms of the way it was depicted, if nothing else. That said, it's nice that it does seem to have some consequences. And Sansa, again, gets another moment. Again, only one moment where she takes a little bit more control than we're used to seeing her take. And I really want these moments to start coming more rapidly and to start adding up to something. Over in Dorne, not much happens, but there is a very cool scene in a jail cell with a character who I really like, and there's a lot that I like about that scene. It buoyed some characters who were feeling kind of insequential to me, and it also gave me some time with a character who I really like anyway, so that was cool. I think the one kind of weak part of this particular episode is Meereen, Slaver's Bay, Daenerys again. I can't follow what she is doing anymore. She seems to have really lost her way. And I mean that like for her as a character and also in terms of what the writers are doing with her. It just feels like it's gotten to the point that they've run out of legitimate ways to stop her from just going over to Westeros and starting to tear things up, but it's still not time for that to happen, so it feels almost like they've stopped trying to justify her just sticking around, and that she's just doing stuff that is either weird or uninteresting. It's not a total loss in what we get over in Meereen and Slaver's Bay and all of that, because we do get a very cool fight scene and sort of the titular gift and what goes on there. It's something that we've kind of been waiting for to happen for most of the season, and it's happened. The actual consequences of it happening, they haven't played out yet. Gonna have to wait for next episode for that, I suppose. But it's nice that it happened. Even though I said this episode was a little wheel spinning, there's still worse things that happen. It just feels like half steps instead of full steps in a lot of ways. But again, this is major improvement over the last episode, and a bit of a relief for me, to be completely honest. So I guess that about wraps things up. I guess, let me ask you this one for this time. There's a scene and a character in this episode who gets saved, and he's in a situation where most of the time that character who was put in that situation would have died, but this particular character was saved. So with that in mind, what character who has died, if you could only save one, if you could go back and save only one character who has died over the course of the show, who would it be and why? Whatever your thoughts on the matter, drop something down in the comments and let's talk about it. Until next time, this council is adjourned.